Metallica is a name known by many, with 10.6 million subscribers on YouTube and 27.1 million monthly listeners on Spotify. It goes without saying that Metallica is one of the most popular bands of all time. They're not only known in the metal scene, but also in the entire music scene. But they weren't always this renowned. Metallica was once an underground band that was only well known in the thrash metal scene of San Francisco Bay. Hello. I'm Sawdust, and today I'll be taking a look back to where it all began for the metal giant Metallica by reviewing their debut album, Kill 'Em All, from 1983. Now, I've reviewed albums in the past. I used to make them and send them to my friends, but I never made any in video format. So I'll be trying a sort of different format than I regularly used in the past. I'll also essentially be retconning my album reviews. By that I mean I'll just pretend like they don't exist. For this review, I will focus on the background of the band and a little bit of history on the production of the album, the lyrics as in like what the songs are about, instrumentation of the songs, and some positive and negative feedback for the album itself. Then of course ending it with the actual rating. Metallica was formed in late 1981 by drummer Lars Ulrich, who placed an ad in a newspaper asking for metal musicians who were influenced by bands such as Diamond Head and Iron Maiden to jam with him. From this ad, Lars met James Hetfield, the future rhythm guitarist and lead vocalist for the band, along with another fellow by the name of Hugh Tanner. They were both part of a metal band called Leatherjaw. During this period, the band would perform covers from artists such as the previously mentioned Diamond Head and Motorhead, until Lars called up a good friend of his who founded a record label and asked him if Metallica could record a song for the label's upcoming compilation album Metal Massacre. Dave Mustaine responded to the newspaper ad for a lead guitarist put out by Lars. Dave was a very angry dude and a wild drunkard. This will be important later. Bassist Ron McGovney also joined the band. Metallica began gaining traction in the underground metal scene, playing at multiple venues. Bassist Ron McGovney would quit after Dave Mustaine poured beer down his equipment, which caused Ron to get injured when plugging it in.
Well, it just got worse. I wasn't home one time, and Dave was sitting there drinking, and my bass was on a guitar stand, and he decided to take a whole beer and just pour it right into the pickups on my bass. Just down the whole thing in there. I didn't know anything about it. Go plug it in. About blew me across the room. Shocked the hell out of me.
Ron was replaced by Cliff Burton from Trauma, since the band had observed him at a gig and were enamored by his bass playing skills. Soon after, Metallica would send in their demo No Life Till Leather in 1982 to several record labels in New York City. However, the labels weren't interested, so instead Megaforce Records picked the band up. During this time, Dave Mustaine was still being a pissed drunkard and was kicked out of the band for violent behavior. He was actually kicked out twice. Once after James kicked Dave's dog, which the band had two dogs because they protected weed or drugs or something. Because of James kicking Dave's dog, James and Dave got into a fight and he got kicked out. But then he just returned the next day like nothing happened. I guess it's just because he was such a good guitarist.
When I would go to rehearsal, I would leave the dogs there to watch the drugs. And one day I took one of the dogs with me, and she put her paws up on Ron McGovney's car and scratched the front pan.
At Dave saying, "Hey, get your freaking dogs off of Ron's car."
And James kicked the dog. Now, everyone thinks I kicked James' dog, and it wasn't that way. James kicked my dog, and that's where we went, don't do this, or you're going to get fired.
Dave was eventually replaced, though, and his replacement was Kirk Hammett from Exodus. The new lineup of Lars, James, Cliff, and Kirk recorded the album Metal Up Your Ass. And this is what I was talking about last video. Wait. Hold on. The album was renamed from Metal Up Your Ass to Kill 'Em All because the name was inappropriate. They got the name Kill 'Em All from Cliff Burton's reaction to the record label rejecting the name in album art, saying, "Those record company fuckers, kill 'em all!" Kill 'Em All was recorded in the studio Music America in Rochester, New York, and it was produced by Paul Curico. Originally, the band wanted to record the album in San Francisco with Slager's label, but due to a small budget, Lars Ulrich decided it would be better to contact John Zazula of New Jersey and ask him for help, which Zazula agreed to help the band find a record label who would take them. Metallica would journey on a U-Haul truck to New York, where they replaced Mustaine with Kirk, and were unable to find a label that would sign them. So instead, Zazula himself took them in and created Megaforce Records, which he financed by selling No Life Till Leather tapes. The band was so poor that they couldn't afford a hotel to stay in during production, so instead they would stay over at people's houses in Rochester and at the Music Factory in Jamaica, Queens, where another now big metal band, Anthrax, held rehearsals. Producer Kuriko wasn't a very good producer throughout the recording. He set the studio equipment to settings which would only work on an ordinary rock band, but Metallica wasn't just any ordinary rock band. They were thrash thrash. We all know that thrash is faster and more aggressive than any ordinary rock, since it combines punk and metal. Kuriko was also uninterested in producing the album. It goes without saying that Zazula here wasn't really pleased with this, since the drums were too loud and the guitars were too low. So Kill 'Em All was remixed by sound engineer Chris Bubach. I'm very confused on who actually made the remix of Kill 'Em All, because this source says Chris made it, but in this interview with Kirk Hammett, some other dude named Andrew remixed the album, so I'm confused here. Maybe both of them worked on it together? The overall cost of this was $15,000 or $46.3 thousand today. The cost almost caused Zazula to go bankrupt, and Zazula had trouble finding a distributor for the album, but he eventually found Relativity Records, who agreed to distribute in the US and Canada, and for Music for Nations. The songs themselves were all songs from No Life Till Leather, with the exception of Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, and Whiplash, which were written for the album. Oh, and also Dave's The Mechanics was rewritten to the Four Horsemen, and then Dave, who formed Megadeth, used The Mechanics in his first album. Kill 'Em All was recorded in only 2 weeks, a very notable time for the band, since they not only got to record a record, but they also lived in some guy Gary Sefting's house, and they trashed it because we all know these guys were drunk 24/7. Another cool story is that the band frequently ate at a pizza place named Pizza Peddler. Thought that was pretty neat. That's all I have to say about that. Inspired by Led Zeppelin recording their first album in an old country manner, Metallica recorded in a similarly eerie ballroom, which was upstairs of the studio, but it wasn't part of the studio's property, so they were trespassing. Lars claimed he saw a ghost in the drum room. Matter of fact, the band suspected the entire studio being haunted. Lars would hear things when he went to the bathroom, to the point where Andrew had to sit outside the bathroom because it was a pretty nerve-wracking place. They also placed Lars' drums in the bathroom to create a louder sound for the drum fills and hit the lights, so they never used recordings for the album. According to Andrew from earlier, he was the one who said bass solo, take one, and Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth. He also claimed that James Hetfield threw Lars into the recording booth in the middle of the song to add some drums to the mix. He also said that his friend Gary Hurd shot the photos for the back cover and made the design for the front cover. Apparently the photo was considered very raw in the photography community, which absolutely suits Kill 'Em All's raw energy. We finally have all the background out of the way, and we can now look at the album's content itself. I actually own this album, so I'll be using a lot of footage that I have from owning a copy for this. The album has 10 tracks, and is a total of 51 minutes and 20 seconds long. The tracks in order are Hit the Lights, The Four Horsemen, Motor Breath, Jump in the Fire, Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, Whiplash, Phantom Lord, No Remorse, Seek and Destroy, and Metal Militia. The shortest song on the album is Motor Breath at 3 minutes and 8 seconds, and the longest is The Four Horsemen at 7 minutes and 13 seconds, with an average runtime calculated to be 5 minutes and 7 seconds per song. Now we can finally review the songs themselves. Hit the Lights is about Metallica's passion for playing metal and appreciation for their fans.
We're gonna kick some ass tonight! We got the metal madness!
Reinforces this, as well as
We're not fast as screaming right! Ah, yeah! You know what Feds are saying? Go blow this place away!
and
When we start to rock, we never will stop again!
when the song begins, the drums, bass, and guitar all fade in slowly. The drums stay consistent throughout the song. There isn't really anything new or ingenuitive about this track's drums. They just keep the rhythm. They keep doing the same fill, same cymbal crashes, same snare for the entire song. The bass fades into the song just like the drums and guitar. The bass isn't very unique either. It of course follows the guitar, especially at the chorus. It does kind of do its own thing during the solo, but its own thing is just repeating the chorus over and over again. I will say though, for a bit it plays, but in a lower key, so hey, I guess that's something. The guitar, like the drums and bass, fades in. In the song, the guitar's distortion is the primary source of the noise in the beginning. The guitar begins with the primary riff, which sounds like this. Throughout the song, the primary riff is played a few times, and the primary riff is accompanied by the secondary riff that sounds like this. The secondary riff also works as the intro to the chorus riff. There are also 3 solos in the entire song, the longest of which is the last one. The guitar overall is great. I really love the riffs. They're groovy, but they just repeat too much. Although it's hard to get a bunch of riffs into one song, so I guess that's kind of a nitpick. Anyways, the vocals are very screechy. You'd be forgiven if you thought the vocals were nails scratching across a chalkboard. But I really fancy this raw and aggressive sort of vocal style, and it still does count as singing because there is inflection at the end of verses. This is also where we get to listen to James's iconic Yaz for the first time while they're still in their infant stage.
Well, alright!
As for the vocal structure, there are three verses, a pre-chorus, and a chorus. I don't think I really need to go over the order of them, but just know it goes verse, pre-chorus, chorus.
Hit the lights, 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 hit the lights, hit the lights, lights, lights. Never stop again. Hit the lights.
The Four Horsemen is about the four horsemen of the apocalypse from the book of Revelations in the Christian Bible. There's conquest / pestilence, war, famine, and death. All our favorite Care Bears. The song essentially is about surviving humans while the horsemen are coming to massacre everyone. This is evident through the verses.
Horsemen are drawing nearer. Another stage they ride. They come to take your life. Out to the dead of night. With the four horsemen ride. Or choose your fate and die.
The drums start out as a singular beat, but evolve into following the same rhythm as the guitar. The drums stay generally the same. There's some fills in there for the first 3 minutes. The beat gradually gets slower. It stays consistent during the solo at around 4 minutes. The drums really aren't anything too special. As I said, they follow the rest of the instruments. However, the main beat does sound like horses' footsteps, which that's neat. The bass, like the drums, starts out with singular notes. The bass, as always, follows the guitar. It actually sounds as if the bass part was actually just somebody playing the guitar part on the bass. It has the same galloping feel. Every riff in the Four Horsemen is played by the bass, even breakdowns, as shown here. The guitar sounds very raw and energetic, as it will throughout the entire album. The main riff sounds like galloping horses. It's really epic, like Epic Games. Afterwards, there's a sort of secondary riff to the main riff and a tertiary riff. Basically, the song is divided into 3 different main riffs, which have sub or secondary riffs. And there is also on occasions, mostly during interludes or before the second riff, where there's long stretches of low E string zeros, which make the song even heavier. The second riff kicks in for the bridge, and after it there is a breakdown which segues into the third riff, which is actually Sweet Home Alabama, but Metallicized. There's a solo in this part. It's fast, but still sounds melodic. After a bit, there's another solo which is heavier than the first one and includes what my ears presume is to be tapping. The vocals again are screeching, screaming, very raw. It's like a cat screech. Again, I love it. Again, there's James's iconic Yaz.
Oh yeah, yeah! Gather round, young warriors now. Saddle up your steed. Killing souls, demons on.
Motor Breath is about nonconformity and living life in an unorthodox way. Basically, living the fast life, not playing things safe. This is seen in lyrics such as,
Those people who tell you not to take chances, they are all missing out what life's about. You only live once, so take hold of the chance. Don't end up like others, sing song and dance.
beginning, the drums make a sound that sounds like something is rolling, I guess, like a drum roll. The main beat is generic, nothing too exciting. It's kind of fast. I like that there's interludes where only the bass drum is used. That's something new. It stays generally consistent throughout the entire song, which is already only 3 minutes anyways. A quick 2 notes for the intro. The bass again, for the third time, stays consistent with the guitar. For some reason, the bass also kind of follows the solo with its first few notes, and this happens twice. The guitar is pretty standard thrash. It's good. Again, it repeats itself a lot. The entire song is one riff, and like a transitional riff, I guess you could call it. I like the little blues sounding solos after the chorus. Both solos are solid. I'm not sure what technique is used. Maybe a bend on distortion for the beginning of one of the solos. Kind of sounds like a train's choo-choo horn thingy. Oh, and the end of the song is pretty unique too. The vocals are great again. I really like
Zipping and dying, laughing and crying.
as well as the chorus. All in all, I really like this song. It's very underrated.
I can't take it any other way. Going to take your breath away.
Jump in the Fire is about Satan trying to tempt humans into committing sin. In general, it's about Satan's objective of filling hell with as many people as possible.
I will be taking my boss. I'll get you either way. Trying to keep the
And
down on the depths of my fiery hole. Something's bell will shine. Tempting you and all the earth to when I sit and kind.
are good examples of lyrics that support this. The intro uses a large amount of bass drum and snare. The main sort of beat is kind of basic, and it just eternally repeats the same cymbal crashers over and over again. There's like a drum filler too, and the end is a little different. It goes from using the snare and cymbal slowly to using them quickly. Whoa, that's so cool and new. The bass kind of follows the guitar and the drums towards the end, but being more aggressive at the end. Again, suffers from repeating the same thing too much. I think I went insane while listening to the 4 minutes of this isolated track. The guitar is amazing as always. Kirk and James, and I guess Mustaine since he ripped this, always do an amazing job at his songs. Great catchy riffs. In this one's case, the main riff fills me with so much testosterone I could deadlift a semi-truck. But again, the song repeats everything too much. The entirety of the song is repetitive. Even though I love the riff, I wish there was a riff change to something different. I do really like the solos. One of them sounds like it has a bend, both of them just sound like ear candy. Again, I will never complain about the vocals, I love them. They're screeching and screaming, but still with harmony, they're great. I like the chorus a lot too. The way James says is just great and super rock and roll. Golden Teeth is a bass solo played by bassist Cliff Burton. It's the first instrumental track by Metallica. There is no guitar in the mix, only bass, and later some drums, so I don't have to cover that much for here. There's nothing special since in my production part I talked about how James kicked Lars into the drum room and Lars just had a basic beat. It's constant throughout the later half of the song. The bass is the only thing I'll ramble on here, because the drums weren't really anything special. The bass solo is amazing. At first it starts slow. I love that, that's amazing. I love how it kind of feels like it steps up a stair since the bass is changing frets to have different pitches. Cliff definitely plays bass like a guitar and it's great. The only thing I don't like about this track is that at times there's a bunch of distortion. It kind of hurts my ears. I get that maybe Cliff was going for some sort of eerie feel for this song, but it was still just kind of annoying. Near the end with the shredding was good. That was eerie. Like Hit the Lights, Whiplash is an homage to fans of Metallica. The lyrics describe a metal concert, an absolute mayhem in the crowds, and a little bit about the rock star lifestyle. But Metallica didn't live this lifestyle. I guess maybe the partying and drinking part, they did live through that.
Bang your head against the stage like it never did before. Make it ring, make it bleed, make it really sore. In a frenzied madness with your leathers and your spikes. It's a bobbing all around inside his hell tonight.
Or lyrics that show this. The drums start out with a few beats, then there's a part of the song where the drums almost sound primal, and it really matches well. And like in Motor Breath, it sounds like the drums are rolling. I think that's a drum roll, pretty sure. I'm not quite sure. The song repeats the drums over and over again. We know that at this point, but I will say that during the chorus, the drums do slow down, and there's a heavier use of the bass drum. Near the end, there's also louder drums, just to be even more metal, I guess. I don't really like the drums though, and this song in general isn't that good. The bass starts off unique in the way that it more or less does its own thing while keeping rhythm with the rest of the instruments. Later on though, the bass does follow the guitar riff itself. Again, for the entire song. It even plays a riff change, so that's cool I guess. The guitar is solid. I like the riff. I like the chorus riff, the second riff, all of that. The solo is nice. I guess that's pretty much it. It's definitely not the best riff on the album, but it's pretty good. And it starts out slow like the other instruments. Wow, who would have guessed? I like these vocals more than usual. It's again really raw, but feels more harmonized, more like actual singing. The chorus is great. The
In a frenzied madness with your leathers and your spikes.
verse is probably my favorite. Yeah, there's not much else to that. Phantom Lord is about some powerful, evil Mongol horde type warlord who conquers the world violently, as seen with the lyrics. Like Hit the Lights and Whiplash, it's also about metal as in the fans and that sort of stuff, as there's multiple double entendres which can be linked to metal, such as
Victims falling in the team, either throwing this is serious ringing through, now there's nothing you can do.
could be war machines approaching or a very loud concert, either one. The drums start off very slow and menacing, then once we get into the main beat, we sort of stay consistent, but I'm actually surprised with this track. The drums do something different for once. In the interlude, the drums change beat, and after the interlude and the transition to the regular riff, there's a large usage of the bass drum, which I really dig. That's fucking great. The bass makes a very electronic noise in the beginning. I actually thought it might have been a keyboard sample. The bass follows what the guitar does, like it has been throughout the entire album. I will say that during the interlude, the bass does do its own thing while again staying in rhythm. The bass also plays the root notes for the solo, which is cool, I guess. It's done that a few times before, like in Motor Breath. The guitar is amazing. This might be my favorite song of the entire album. The riff is so hard and the interlude is so melodic. It invokes a feeling of anguish, the same anguish that anyone who faces the Phantom Lord will face. I like the solos as well. They're both really good. I can't describe how much I love this song. The guitar feels so energetic. I feel like I'm on the battlefield going to fight against the Phantom Lord. The vocals are amazing. I love the vocal fry at the end in the outro. With that, everything about the song is amazing. No Remorse is about having no remorse, I guess. It's about how soldiers are ordered to ruthlessly kill others and move on with the day as if it isn't a big deal. This is seen with the lyrics. The wall sea, and away across the land. Behind feeling sorrow. No remorse is the one command. The drums start off a bit tame as always, but with a little drum roll, they quickly accelerate into the main beat. There's a bigger emphasis on the drums during the instrumental break, in which a pretty cool beat is placed. The bridge marks the point for the drums where they're at their loudest, and there's a huge drum roll. Bass is very good. It mainly follows the guitar, which is okay, but I really like that during the instrumental break that we can kind of hear it over the guitar. I'll say that the chorus sounds kind of like Master of Puppets. The guitar starts off with the main riff under a solo, a very wicked solo. We then move to our secondary riff, which goes just as hard. The pre-chorus is probably my favorite. It's groovy, it isn't as fast as others, but it's still good. The chorus sounds like Master of Puppets, which I just said in the last part, which is really cool to me. They might have gotten the idea for Master of Puppets from No Remorse. Through the chorus, there's a third riff, which sounds very energetic. It then gets all distorted. It sounds like they scratched a penny across their strings. I get a second solo that sounds like a choo-choo train's horn thing. I said that earlier too. I don't remember which song, but another solo sounded kind of like this. I said this before, yeah. I don't know what they used for that, but then there's a very cool breakdown. Then at the bridge, there's an even faster riff, which turns more melodic. The vocals, as always, are great. I love the screams. Oh, and I really love the vocal fry in the bridge when James says, I like the stylish rhyme of I don't know why, but it reminds me of like 60s rock and roll. It sounds like it would have been sung during the Vietnam War, but obviously not sung as metal as James sings it. Seek and Destroy is about violence, essentially. Metallica wants to find people and kill them or hurt them. This is evident with lyrics like running on a way hiding, you will be dying 1,000 deaths. The drums start off light and then the main beat comes along, after which in the instrumental break there is more of an emphasis on the bass drum again. It's also faster. There are some drum rolls as well near the end of the song. The drums get louder. The bass follows the guitar, but it sounds more groovy. I really like the bass in this one, even though it repeats a lot. There's a lot of cool moments like this. The guitar plays a main riff, but two other secondary ones. Brings a ton of test. There's also a solo and an instrumental break, which is cool. I used to be able to play this song on my guitar, so that's nice. Instrumental break just speeds things up. This song is kind of slow compared to the others, but it's good because it's heavier. The vocals are great as always. Shrieking vocals, the chorus fills me with determination. It's really good. Pre-chorus is equally as good. I will say though that it kind of sounds like they're talking rather than singing, but with the other instruments over it, the vocals sound way better.
Scanning the scene in the city tonight. We're looking for you to start up a fight. There's an evil feeling in our brains, but it's nothing new. You know what drives us to say, running on our way out. You will be tired, 1,000 deaths.
Metal Militia is kind of hard to pinpoint what it's about. It might be another one of those songs where it's an homage to metal fans, where it can be about fighting the Four Horsemen with lyrics like,
Thunder and lightning, the godspeed revenge. It's just destruction.
the drums are really nothing special. It's just really loud, really fast, banging. Which I mean fits because this is the fastest song on the album, but there's only like one drum roll. The rest is just the same thing over and over and over again. And frankly, it's not very enjoyable to sit there for 5 minutes and listen to a drum track. It's just the same thing over and over, which is probably how you feel about this video because I have the same complaints over and over again. The bass is kind of basic as well. It follows the guitar. I guess it sounds alright. There's like one part in the track where the bass is hearable over the guitar, so that's cool, I guess. It's not really good. It sounds maybe a little bit good, but it being the same thing over and over again, it's kind of boring. The guitar is faster than all tracks. It's good, but it sounds kind of basic. I will say that the shredding is good, but overall sounds a little basic. Solo is good though. The vocals here are my favorite. The screeching is great. I love the pre-chorus and the chorus as well. It's just so epic. But everything kind of being the same and basic kind of ruins it for me. Hey, it's me, Sawdust, in editing, and I've decided that this song is actually better than I give it credit for. I actually really like this song. Because of that, I'd say this is more of a 8 out of 10. It's still pretty generic, but I really like the metal aspects of it. It does sound like fundamental thrash before Battery came out. This was probably the thrash anthem, I'd say. It embodies everything, the shredding, the fast pace. It has the most aggressive singing of the entire album. I'd say this really personifies all of what thrash really is. I really like the fast pace and raw energy of the album. Songs like Hit the Lights, Phantom Lord, and No Remorse were amazing at capturing the raw energy of 80s thrash metal. They all showed amazing shrieking vocals, rapid guitars, and excellent riffs. The other instruments were good as well, since they were basically the stepping stone for the guitar. Songs like Seek and Destroy and Jump in the Fire had amazing riffs that filled the body with testosterone. The musicianship in the album is grand. Cliff's anesthesia pulling teeth, the instrumental track, showed us how great of a musician Cliff Burton was. There isn't much to say here. I liked most of the album. I will say that at times the album felt really repetitive in the way that songs were just the same thing repeating over and over for all instruments. Songs like Jump in the Fire, those instruments felt like they could have been shortened to 2 minutes. The song is unnecessarily long. There's also times when there is way too much distortion, like an anesthesia pulling teeth. At a point in the song, Cliff's bass ceases to play music and just plays distorted noise for a few seconds. It's kind of distracting and isn't really something to headbang to. I guess maybe it's just to be different, which I guess it's cool, but I just don't understand why they did that. They also did it momentarily and No Remorse. I think that Metal Militia also sounds kind of basic and repeats itself too much. And those are about all my complaints for this. I've decided to rank and rate all the songs. First, they're ranked according to what I gave them out of 10, and then they're ranked for my personal favorites. I did this because some of my favorites might not be 10s, and I want to avoid bias. Overall, I give Kill 'Em All a 9 out of 10. It's a really good album. It's definitely essential thrash. I think that the vocals and guitar alone are enough to call this one of the best Metallica albums. Phew. That was a lot of work. Took a really long time to make this video, so please like and subscribe. Leave a comment, anything. I'm really trying my best here. I would appreciate if some of you would push me in the algorithm, since it seems like YouTube isn't really doing it. So, thank you. Goodbye.